So I'm sure that many of you have had an old-fashioned before, but have you had a barreled old-fashioned, also called a barrel-aged old-fashioned? We're going to try one right now. We're going to try Handy and Schiller Signature Cocktails, barreled old-fashioned using Buffalo Trace bourbon. So this is something that I have seen and purchased once before, and I believe I reviewed this very quickly, very early in my TikTok time, probably maybe one of the first few months. They sell this at just one store by me that I've seen it. They sell this, which is the Buffalo Trace, using Buffalo Trace, it's the old fashioned, and they sell a Manhattan. Similarly priced, I think it's somewhere, I think it's like $30 or something around there. Not too bad. But what made me think about this was our recent trip to New Orleans. In the Sazerac House, since this is Buffalo Trace, this is produced by the Sazerac Company, New Orleans, Louisiana. They were selling this, but this didn't really catch my interest. I'm like, okay, that's great. I know I can get that at home. But what did catch my eye, of course, was the Eagle Rare and the White Dog that I bought. So I saw it there, and it reminded me about it. And then I happened to check out when I was back that same store, and I'm like, I'm going to give this a shot. I haven't had this in a long time. And the reason I want to try it, just like where I come back to bottles, I want to come back to this because I think I had this before. I'm like, oh, maybe it was very early on, certainly in my TikTok journey. I thought it was good, but I didn't really appreciate what it really was. And what it is a barreled old-fashioned or barrel-aged old-fashioned. What makes it unique is what it is it's think of it this way: an old-fashioned, you make the cocktail with the bitters, the sugar cube and water, or the simple syrup, and of course the bourbon, and that's your old-fashioned. But imagine making that cocktail and then putting that into a small wooden barrel to age possibly for a few weeks, generally, give or take, and then tasting it. What that's supposed to do is you take that cocktail and it's supposed to meld while it's in the barrel. It melds together. It melds and enhances the flavors. And that old fashioned is now going to get influence from the from the oak, even if it's for a short time. Add some complexity and depth. So that original old fashioned, before it goes in there, in theory, should taste a lot more, complex and have depth and more flavors imparted from the wood. I'm not sure I really appreciated that at that time. So we're going to try it again now. So again, this and the other thing, before I go on, what made me also want to buy this, and of course it was in the Sazerac House in New Orleans, was the time in New Orleans. If there was one thing that struck me in the Hotel Monteleone, and in the Carousel Bar and all the the bars and hotels, the level of just the classic cocktails that were made, the level of just the high level that these cocktails were made at. Classic cocktails made in just an excellent way, even with these little swivels here, the Monteleone, just everything was just done in such a classic way. That's kind of the theme here, and of course, one of the other things is the bitters that they used there was a bitters that they used in the Vieux Carré drink that I had, the Sazerac, and that's called Picard bitters. So what you have here is Buffalo Trace bourbon, Picard's bitters, and caramel color. I believe that's what that is. And then supposedly it's, so I guess they make obviously an old-fashioned cocktail using that on a grand scale. Then they rest it in these barrels for, it doesn't say, but I'm imagining at least for a few weeks. And here it is. So let's pour this up. I'm going to open this up. Let's pour this up. Let's taste a barreled old-fashioned. Here we go. This is the front of the container. This is the back of the container if you want to pause to read. And this is the bottle inside and the back again. So everything about this is like opening up a bottle, except it's an old-fashioned in there, and not just an old-fashioned, a barreled old-fashioned or barrel-aged old-fashioned. Nice cork pop. You got this poured up, and just for extra good measure, let's take one of these Hotel Monteleone swivels here, and we'll stick it in there, and makes for a nice-looking drink. I'm borrowing it, sorry. In any event, let's give this a nose. We can do this the whole way. It's kind of hot on this with the ice and the old-fashioned. I can't really tell much of a difference from that. Let's give it a taste. Cheers. Oh, yeah. I'm really appreciating it much more this time. So it is certainly a more complex old-fashioned. You're definitely getting, it's a much richer flavor than your average, old-fashioned. I'm getting just deeper, richer flavors. Now, in all fairness, there are times I've put bitters in, depending on the bitters, that could make a big difference also in the richness of the flavor, the bourbon you're using. But let's take this as it is. This is a very good, tasty old-fashioned. If I didn't know it was barrel-aged, would I know that? Probably not. I mean, I would just say it's a very good old-fashioned. But I will say this. I would definitely buy, if I'm looking for a ready-to-pour old-fashioned, I would definitely take this over just about any other mixer that I tried. Even the Tip Top. The Tip Top old-fashioned ready-to-goes, ready to pour, are like in those cans. They're like $5.99 each. Those are good. They're certainly better than the On the Rocks ones, but this is something different and a little better. And I guess probably, honestly, when you figure out how much is in here, it's probably about the same amount of money than the others. But you have a Buffalo Trace bourbon. The Picard bitters are very good. I know that because that's what I had in the classic drink, the Hotel Montreal, the Vieux Carré. They used it in this, I think, it was either Sazerac or they're just the regular old-fashioned. And this just reminds me of the classic drinks served in New Orleans at the places that I was at. This is just a classic type of an old-fashioned. It just tastes that way. It tastes, upscale. So, yes, I can taste very rich flavors. What I know this was barrel aged. If I didn't know that and see it on here, probably not. I would just think it was a really good old fashioned. But the point is, obviously, this is doing something positive to it. At the end of the day, to put it really simply, again, if you do see this by you, this Handy and Schiller signature cocktails in that container, whether it be the old fashioned Manhattan. And it's around $30 or less or something around there. I would give it a shot, and especially if you like a good ready to make cocktail. This is definitely better than the On the Rocks. It's I think this is even better than the Tip Top cocktail so far. It's about the best one that I've seen, and I appreciate it more the second time having it because I'm truly understanding what it is. Plus the fact that I know where it's coming from, and just the entire environment around New Orleans and just that just old classic drinks, of which this definitely tastes, it's just putting me right back in my seat at the carousel bar right here. So I definitely recommend this. Cheers.